it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Today is Simple Stamping Saturday. I love Simple Stamping Saturday. For those of you who don't know Simple Stamping Saturday, it is where I take one project and I take it from a beginner or quick card through someone who is a more casual crafter through to someone who is a more avid crafter. And I just show you the steps through. I show you how to make the simple card, and then I explain how to do the casual and avid. So I'm using a host set. Host sets are great. I think they are perfect if you are gifting stamping to someone who is new to stamping. And the reason I say that is because they're free. You can only get a host set if you've earned stamping rewards. So if you have a large order, or there's a group of you who want to get together to place an order, if you place an order that is £150 or more, you will earn rewards. So at £150 you get 10% back as rewards. So for a £150 order you would get £15 to spend on anything you want in the catalogue, or put towards anything you want in the catalogue. So if you wanted something that was £20, you just pay £10. So you'd use £15 for your rewards and then pay the extra £5. Host sets are subsidised. So this set is valued, it's one of the host sets out of the spring summer catalogue. Its value is £20, but it only costs £12 in rewards. So you'll see with all the host sets, it has a value and a cost. So you get a £20 stamp set, subsidised to the tune of £8, but it's free anyway. So with your £15 rewards, you could get this and have £3 towards something else. So ideal. So if you are someone who is an avid crafter, or a casual crafter who's putting in a reward, an order with a reasonable number of items, so you've got rewards, and you'd like to introduce stamping to someone you know, these are perfect for that, because they haven't actually cost you any money, but they're a great way to start. They're generally sentiment and image stamps, not always, but I think they're a really good place to start crafting. And you could give them this, a memento ink pad and some watercolour pencils and maybe some blender pens, and they're away. It's perfect. So let me show you what I have done, and I'll also go through some suggestions with you about how I would use this set. So I'm going to start as ever with a note card, and this is, excuse me, one of our note card and envelopes. They come in a pack of 20. So you get 20 note cards and 20 envelopes, and you can either get them in Whisper White or very vanilla. I'm using Whisper White. I've got my memento ink pad, and I've mounted one of the stamps on to my block. This is one of the I blocks. This stamp is too big for D. It would go perfectly well on an E block, but I've got it on an I. Now, this one has a sentiment top and bottom, but the other two stamps just have a sentiment at the bottom. So if you like this but you don't want thinking of you, you can either just ink up the top or mask the bottom so that you've just got this, or you could do surgery. I won't, but you could do surgery and actually cut the two bits apart. So that's certainly worth bearing in mind. So you can do that for certainly for these two, which are the Happy Mother's Day and the Thinking of You. I'm not sure that it would work so well with this one, because I am what I am. It would be quite difficult to cut away, not impossible, but and then Because of You, I think they kind of go together. Anywho, so I'm going to do it kind of sideways on, purely because it's a bit easier to handle everything that way. My memento ink pad, this is a hard pad, so I tend to pick it up and ink from above, and I twist to get ink on, and then I tap just to make sure I haven't left any marks on the stamp itself, because it's got a fabric top. If you do that, particularly on a solid stamp, you could end up with the fabric being on the stamp, showing onto the stamp. Now this is going to be the front of the card. I could do it that way, but for me that just feels odd. So I've got it sideways, but obviously you can do it straight on as well. And I just want to find the middle, which is not as easy as it might be because I've got a camera in the way, and just stamp down. Hold your stamp to your paper for a reasonable count and then lift it up, and you've got a nice clean stamp. And the reason I say hold it down for a reasonable count is because if you just go straight down and straight up, you won't get a good impression. Let's see if I've got a piece of, oh, here we are, here's a scrappy piece that the stamp will sort of fit on. So let me re-ink this while this is drying properly. Let me just re-ink this, and I will see if I can show you what I mean. Of course it's going to stamp perfectly this time, because why wouldn't it? Okay, so if I just, let's go the other way up. If I just go down, up, perfect, as in it's not. Can you see that it's not had a chance to transfer? Whereas this one, because I held it down, has. Now let's be brave, and I only say that because this is new and lovely. Is this dry? More or less. Let me show you again on the same card. So let me ink up. And down, hold in place, and make sure that you're reasonably covering the back of the stamp. Don't rock, because if you rock you might move the stamp, and also if you've over inked your stamp you may end up getting ink where you don't want it. But there we are. See? Perfect! Or not so good. Perfect! Not so good. And all I've done differently is hold the stamp to the card for a reasonable length of time. So that is that. Let's bring this back in. I've got watercolour pencils here. Now I've got both sets of watercolour pencils, so there's a sneak peek. We have watercolour pencils in our current annual catalogue. There's a new set coming, and I have both. So I've got some colours that you may not have. I can't tell you much more about the new set other than they're coming. Let me see if I have actually used new colours on the one that I've now lost on my desk, covered up with my ink pad. So this is Crushed Curry and Granny Apple Green. Now, I happen to know that Early Espresso and Old Olive are in the existing colours. So let's use those. I am going to sharpen my pencils, because if you want to get lots of colour down, having a reasonable point is a good idea. So, and always use a good sharpener. That's the word I was looking for. So literally all I'm going to do is come in and colour in my leaves. Now, while I'm doing this, you may or may not have noticed I've got a new ring. I've treated myself to a new ring because for the first time ever I have earned a bonus through Stamping Up. So there are various ways that you can get an income through Stamping Up. Sales is one thing, building your team is another, and helping your team progress is a further. And this was as a result of both building my team but also helping them progress. So because I had a certain number hit a particular target this year, I got a bonus. And I thought I would treat myself, as it's the first bonus I have had, I thought I would treat myself to something so that I can have it as a commemoration. So last year, at the end of last year, I was declared number 16 demonstrator in the UK. So I bought myself for my Stamping Up Pandora bracelet, which I used to wear regularly and I have stopped wearing it for some reason. But I bought myself a Sweet 16 charm because there are 16s. So I bought myself that just as a commemoration, because I do like to commemorate little milestones. So because my team are so wonderful, I could commemorate that. So this I'm thinking of as a sort of shadow. So I'm going to put more colour down there and probably around here. So yes, I've got a nice little team building now, and they're lovely. They are so supportive of me, which is wonderful. I try very hard to support them too. Now I'm going to put down less colour because I want this to be not as dark. And we're spread across Europe. We've got Germany, Scotland, Wales. Don't have anyone in Ireland yet. Various parts of England. But yeah, we are multinational. So if you are thinking of joining Stamping Up, I would say May is a great time to start thinking about it, because you can get to order from the new catalogue a month early. And then you don't have to meet your first quarter's minimum until definitely the end of September, and if you really need to, you can push into October, which means that you get to order from the autumn-winter catalogue early, because that will be going live for demonstrators in August. So lots and lots of reasons why May is a fantastic time to join up. Right, okay, let's grab a blend pen and a piece of scrap paper, because I don't want to scribble on my lovely floral paper. So all you do with your blender pen, I'm going to do the pot first, is just decide where you're going to start, and then I tend to do circular motion to begin with, just to get things kind of flowing, and then just as if by magic it stops being crayon and starts being proper pigment. And because you're using the blender pen, you can get right the way up to the stamping. And then, there we go. And then do the top. And then do that piece there. Clean off as and when you need to. And if you want to do a bit more shading, you can take colour off a bit with your blender pen. Don't go mad and don't scribble too much. Let me see what I've got on my desk. Okay, so here's a scrap. If I go too hard or for too long, can you see I've got fuzz? And that's because I got the paper too wet. You won't get that on watercolour pencil. Blender pens are not great on watercolour, but this is watercolour card, so you won't pill so much on that because it's meant to be wet. But ordinary cardstock, if you over wet it, you can pill it, which is not a great look. So, and I should say there's lots and lots of information on my website about what joining up looks like. You can buy the starter kit and just give it a test drive. If you decide that it doesn't work for you, then that's fine. You know, it's no great shapes. But you can, you know, get your starter kit, see how you get on with that. You aren't allowed to order immediately, certainly in the UK. You have to wait 7 days before you can place your first order as a demonstrator, and that's just to give you a bit of protection as a consumer. But you'll get lots of help from me about how to do all of the signing up and what to do after you've signed up. So yeah. Right, so that is that. Simple as that. close that lot up. This is just a stamp case. It's an ordinary stamp case. I just think it's easier for storing my watercolour pencils in. So that's that. Fold it in half. Let's get rid of that piece of paper because I don't need it. Fold this in half and just make sure it's square before you burnish. And that just keeps it nicely closed. And then, as ever with a simple stamping project, I like to stamp on the envelope. And all I'm going to do is pop a little sentiment. So ink that up. I know I've gone the other way for this because it's a smaller stamp, but again I'm doing the twist and tap and then stamp down, and there you are. You make my heart soar, which is what my team do for me. They are just lovely. Right, so that is my simple project, and we've also got the other colour simple project. I mean, it just shows you can make different cards with the same products. So you could obviously change this and have a bright colour on your, or a brighter colour, so pink or blue on your vase. It's totally up to you. So this one is for my more casual crafter. So I've used ordinary smooth whisper white, thick whisper white, and then lemon lime twist for my background mat. I've used lemon lime twist marker pen and Sahara sand and crumb cake for the pot. So I've done the shading with crumb cake and then I've come over with Sahara sand just as a softer finish. And then for this one I've got Tranquil Tide Berry Burst as my background and mat. I've cut the watercolour paper, which is what this is, slightly smaller so that this Berry Burst is more obvious. Berry Burst here and Tranquil Tide on the leaves, and I did that with my water brush. And then I slightly overdid the flicking with the Wink of Stella, so I wanted just a little bit of shimmer, and I think I've gone a little bit too far. But all I did was get my Wink of Stella, make sure that it was wet, because they do sometimes kind of reabsorb, and then bashed my Wink of Stella against the lid, and it was obviously wetter than I thought it was, and it came out in a great splodge. But it's fine, I still like it. So now the reason I used watercolour paper and didn't then mount on Whisper White is that because it doesn't quite go. And if I bring in some berry vanilla, she says trying to find some berry vanilla, it's better with berry vanilla, but it's still not quite right. So the watercolour paper is not white, so just bear that in mind. So I went Tranquil Tide and Berry Burst, and then I can put whatever colour liner I want. Obviously I'll need a liner, but yes, so that is my Avid, my Casual, and my Simple Stamping version. I should add that I used, rather than Memento, which I used for those two, for the watercolour version, I used Stays On, because Stays On is waterproof. It does mean you have to do a special clean-up on your stamps because you need Stays On cleaner, or just let your stamps become stained. It's not the end of the world if they are stained, but you do need to do a special clean-up. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it useful and or interesting. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If there are any techniques you would like me to show you, please feel free to leave a comment below or drop me an email. If there's any stamp sets you would like me to use, if I've got them, I will happily use them. But I'm always open to suggestions around what you'd like to see. It's part of what I think I give to you guys. So, yeah. If you would like to shop with me and you're in the UK, I would be thrilled if you would. There is a link to my online store below, and if you use the host code, you also get a share in the host rewards. Anyone who shops with me and uses the host code, if their order is at least £30, then for every £30 they spend in any one order, they get a sunflower reward, which you can then convert to product. When you have 10, you can convert that to up to £30 of product from any of the current catalogues, not the clearance rack or the limited edition items, because obviously if they're gone, there's not much I can do about it. But yes, so for every £30 you get a reward. So that's a £30 order will get you one, a £40 order will get you one, a £40 order, and then a £20 order will still only get you one, because it's per order. Hope that makes sense. There's information about that over on my website, and there's a link to the blog post for this particular project below in the description bar. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope to see you again soon. Questions, comments below. Thank you very much indeed.